Vital knowledge, clear explanations, and simplified answers about the rules of Islam to enable English-speaking Muslims to understand Islam properly and implement it correctly. Join Sheikh Assim Al-Hakeem on Ask Zed, coming live to you on Zed TV at the following times. Our media partner, Huda TV.
الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this new episode of Ask Zad, coming to you live from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Zaryab asks and says, a man isn't working currently, but his wife earns decently in a business. She spends a third of what she earns on family, a third she keeps in savings, and the remaining third she gives to her parents. Her husband objects to it and asks her to stop sponsoring her parents as they're not needy, and keep the remaining third also in savings. He told her it is his right to channel her spending. She denies it and asks for evidence. They are from India. This is a frequently asked question. And through my humble experience, whenever issues over money arise, this usually does not end well. Whenever there is a dispute over wealth, over property, over spending, this means that the relationship between the spouses is not positive. And the vast majority of such problems come when the wife is working and she's earning, and sometimes she earns more than the man. And this is when the man intervenes and wants to have control even on the wife's salary, or to at least have control where she spends her money. And dispute arises. So what's the ruling? First of all, we have to go to the basics. It is not something that is dependent on our logic or our taste or even our culture. No, it's not the way to judge things. In the early 60s and 70s of the previous century, the 20th century, the Muslims were bombarded with movies, TV series, with programs depicting and ridiculing a man with more than one wife. So what is called polygamy, or having more than one wife, was fiercely fought and attacked. And this changed a lot of the perception and the ideas of the people, to the extent that it became normal for housewives, even in the lands of Islam, born to Muslim parents, living in a Muslim country. It was normal for a woman to say, let my husband go abroad, commit adultery, fornicate, does whatever he wants, and come back to me after a month as my own husband. And this is better for me, she says, than him taking a wife in halal where she would be a co-wife to me. Subhanallah, she accepts him to commit adultery, and she turns a blind eye to that so that he would not get married in halal as Allah has prescribed for him when there is a need. Likewise, nowadays, we're bombarded through the media, through women movements. You too, me too, we too, he as well, movements, calling for empowerment of women. We have bloggers, we have YouTubers, we have celebrities coming and brainwashing with filth the brains of women, telling them in confidence, you can make a difference. You can be your own decider of how your life goes. You don't need no one. You can be independent. You have your choice. You have your freedom. Your face is your identity. Don't let anyone cover it. Don't let anyone suppress you and hide you and tell you what to do and what not to do. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. If Satan were to come, he wouldn't add anything more, because all what they're calling people to is to go out of the boundaries of Islam. This is what their actual mission is. Now, some of them, out of courtesy, would probably say, you can do this through the Islamic channels or through the Sharia. How? You want to give women empowerment. You want her to get married without a guardian. You want her to travel without a mahram. You want her to do whatever she wants, take off the hijab, come out in Western clothes, mix with men. Where is Islam? She says, I pray 5 times a day. Why do you cover your hair when you pray? Because Allah told me to cover, and my prayer would be invalid if I prayed without covering my hair. Touché. So why don't you cascade this to the rest of your life? The moral of what I want to say, I don't want to waste your time on such a topic. The people nowadays are bombarding women to be independent. So if you work, then you're independent. You don't need a man. And so many times we hear this. My job is more important than my husband and my kids, because my job gives me empowerment. My husband and children, they'll tie me down, and I would not benefit from that. So if we go back to the basics, we know that this is not the way Islam works. A wife is dependent on her husband. This is the norm. She's obedient to him, and he is the guardian, and he decides almost everything in the household. He decides for the family, for the betterment of their lives, and for them to progress and to move on forward. This is the norm. But there might be exceptions. There might be black sheep in the family. So we have to look at each case by case scenario. Now, as for Zaryab question, if a woman is currently working, let us ask, was this condition stipulated in the marriage contract? Meaning that when you proposed, her guardian or she said, I'd like to have your consent that after marriage, I'll continue to work. And he says, I agree. So they stipulated a condition and he agreed. In this case, he's obliged to allow her to work. Not only that, he has no control over a single penny of what she earns. And he has no right, none whatsoever, to tell her who to spend it on and who not to spend it on. This has to be cleared. Secondly, if the condition was not fulfilled, was not stipulated, they did not ask for it. Though she was working, but when they made the marriage contract, they did not stipulate this condition. After marriage, it is the right of the husband to decide whether to allow her to work or not to work. Why? Because this is the meaning of the constitution of marriage, that the wife stays home and the husband works and provides. Simple as that. Now, if he allows her to work, this is his decision. And by allowing her, he would compromise some of his rights. Because instead of her being home 24/7, taking care of his house and of his children, of him, he is losing like 10 hours a day for her to work. Here, it is something that they must reach a mutual agreement. So the husband in such a situation has the right to say, I don't want you to work. And it's a must that she obeys him. Or he says, I allow you to work, but you have to compensate me by paying, for example, for the driver or for the maid who's working instead of you, cooking and cleaning, or to give me like 25% of your salary. This is what they agree upon. It's a business transaction. The wife has all the right to say, this is not fair. You're not a man to ask such thing from your wife. I'm quitting. This is her God-given right. She quits, she sits home, it's his job. But does life go on like this? Either my way or the highway? It doesn't. Basically speaking, I do not approve of men taking anything from their women. I do not consider a man to be a proper real man when he stretches his hand begging his wife for allowance or for her to buy the food. If he's stone broke, he should act like someone who's stone broke rather than being arrogant and insisting on this and that as if she's obliged to work. She's not obliged to work. And at the same time, I'm addressing this to the wife. You have to be wise. So you have to balance things up. First of all, every single penny that you pay for the household, for the food, for the rent, for the electricity, the utilities, Allah will reward you for this if you anticipate the reward from Allah Azza wa Jal. Because it's not your obligation. You're not forced to do this. Even if you are rich, it is not your responsibility to spend a dime on yourself, on your children, or on the house. This is his duty and obligation. If he's jobless, tough luck. My money is my money. He has to manage. So if you are giving a helping hand, may Allah reward you. This is good. Now, if he says that you must not pay 1/3 of your salary or income to your parents, I think that this is a bit stupid, with all due respect. Yani, he doesn't work. He doesn't provide. And he wants to be treated as a man at the end of the day. And Simon says, don't do this. Simon says, do that. This is pathetic. This guy is out of his mind. So, as a woman, I am addressing your diplomacy and intellect. Don't go down to his level. Don't share with him any of your expenses. Beware of having a mutual bank account. This is one of the wrong places to be in. Your income, your money, your wealth, keep it in your savings, your own bank account, nobody knows about it. His savings and money, nobody knows about it. It's his. But when you share everything that, oh, I got a raise, I got a bonus, my salary was deducted so and so, with him, he tends to get greedy. So you have to separate these things. And don't tell him. Whether you gave your mom or your parents something or not, this is not his responsibility. May Allah reward you for spending 1/3 of your income over the house when he is jobless, but you have to reach a compromise with him. You have to reach a mutual understanding that, listen, yani, let's be realistic. You cannot beg and at the same time set conditions. So I give €1 to this beggar and he says, what would I do with €1? I can't buy a pack of cigarettes. At least give me 10. I look at him, what is this? When you're begging, you're having the lower hand. So whatever comes, you say, Alhamdulillah, praise Allah, and move on. Not to put such conditions. But at the end of the day, Islamically, we judge it upon whether the condition to work was stipulated in the contract or not. If not, then you have to reach a mutual understanding, compromise, and try to find a solution out. And remember that you're setting a target, and that is to preserve your marriage and your family. If you go down the road of checking every single penny you paid and where he placed it, and he's holding you accountable, and he is doing the record books behind you, then this marriage is not going to end well. May Allah Azza wa Jal make it easy for all of you. Imran says, please make a video on the housefly, because a lot of people are asking that everything has been proven by science. But this saying of the Prophet ﷺ, that he said, when a fly falls in your vessel, then dip it complete, because one side contains extra, so and so and so. He did not write the full question. The hadith is well known. The hadith is in Sahih Bukhari. And the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, whenever a fly falls into your utensils, your cup, your vessel, then dip it immediately and toss it away. The Prophet says, alayhi salatu wasalam, for the fly has illness, epidemics, diseases under one wing, and under the other wing, it has the remedy and the cure for that. Now, this hadith was widely accepted by the Muslims because this is something from the unseen. And we believe in the Quran, we believe in the Sunnah. If we look at the miracles in the Quran and Sunnah, we will find that like 95% of them are proven through science today. I'll assume the 5% that science did not prove to be true as well, because we have a track record. If only 5% or 10% of the miracles, scientific miracles of the Quran and the Sunnah were proven, and 90 were dubious, you and I may have a reason to doubt. But it is the other way around. The vast majority, 80, 90%, are all proven without any doubt by the disbelievers themselves. So any logical person would come to the remaining 10, 15, even 20% that was not proven to be wrong, but not proven to be correct either. They will accept it because they say that the track record proves that it is right. So there were people who came to this hadith and said, ugh, if a fly falls into my glass, I'm going to toss the whole thing out. Why would I dip the fly again and drink whatever is in the container? This is not the point. Now we have the luxury to have green tea, we have water. People in drought-struck areas where they have famine. This is not a luxury. This is a necessity. So if a falls into it, if a fly falls into it, it is not an option to throw it. They're going to drink it. But the etiquette of doing so is to dip the fly. What kind of fly are we talking about? House fly. And he's saying that this is not proven scientifically, and I beg to differ. For the past 20 years, there were so many researchers in America and also in Egypt, for example, in Cairo University and elsewhere, by professors proving this through the lab tests and clinical experiments. Without any doubt, it is a well-known fact. Those scholars who depended most on their logic, the dependence on the logic when the research came from American universities with the seal on it, they said, oh, okay, if this is the case, the hadith is authentic. When the Bukhari, 1300 years ago, authenticated it, these people who use their logic to accept and reject Quran and the Sunnah said, I will not accept this. Subhanallah. Muslims are not played like this. They do not allow Satan to mess with their conviction. They believe in the Quran. They believe in the Sunnah. What they cannot understand, they believe in it. And they say that it is in Allah's hands. Someday we will understand it. But this hadith of the fly is a proven fact, scientific fact. And you can take that to the bank. Now, if the fly falls into my glass, will I do this or not? Any proper Muslim has a choice. If I have other water or tea or drink that I can use, I may not do that. Me personally, I would do this. Just to conquer any doubts or whispers of shaitan. Just to prove that I believe in everything that the Prophet had said, alayhi salatu wasalam. I would dip it and throw the fly and drink it, believing in what the Prophet had said, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. We have a short break. Stay tuned, and inshallah we'll be right back.
Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I'm going to talk about the book Interactions of the Greatest Leader. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam reminded us through his guidance and example that Islam is complete submission to the will of Allah. For one who submits, a mere declaration or display of belief will not be taken for success, but his or her heart and soul will certainly be put to test. Allah tested the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam severely in order that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam becomes an example for his companions to follow. Similarly, he tests the believer to see whether he lives a righteous life in accordance with the instructions and commands set by Allah, or lives according to what his desires dictate. Whether the faith he displays is firmly rooted in his heart, or is it merely on the surface. He will be tested to see whether he will continue to have faith and love of Allah when in a calamity, as he does when in comfort, whether he will continue to remember and worship him if given bounties and comforts of life, as he does when he lives a modest life. Allah will undoubtedly test him to see if his faith, trust and love of him is unconditional, or is it conditioned upon good health and a comfortable life, free from stress and anxiety. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed us through his own example that for a righteous Muslim, this life is a testing ground where he will continue to be tested until he meets Allah. For him, tests will be conducted on earth while he lives. and not after he dies. He knows that as soon as death arrives and he steps into the next world, his tests are over. There, he only receives the result of his tests and enjoys the fruits of the deeds that he committed during a short span of time called life.
محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. Hamid sent us an email saying that in burial procedure, when we pray funeral prayer, then what? Here, a lot of the Muslims after funeral prayers or before, they recite Quran, make dua together, or after putting him to the grave, then again they recite. What exactly should be done? First of all, as Muslims, it is not the word of mouth that we practice our religion. So what we usually learn from our ancestors is not necessarily true. And hence, we have to go back to the Quran and to the Sunnah. And if we go back to the Sunnah, we don't see any such thing as reciting the Quran, making dua from the moment he died till the moment we bathed him, till the moment we shrouded him, perfumed him, till the moment we took him to the masjid, till the moment we offered funeral prayer. Then we carried him to his grave, put him down his grave, then put a soil on top of his body and bury him. There's nothing prescribed. So is it open? Nothing is prescribed. So if you say, may Allah forgive him, may Allah have mercy on him, no problem. Reciting the Quran is an innovation. And congregational dua before is also an innovation. Afterwards, it's an issue of dispute, especially when the people don't know what to say. So what is prescribed? The only thing we have prescribed is that the Prophet ﷺ, after finishing burying one of the companions, he said, "Istaghfiru li akhikum wa sallallahu lahu at-tathbit fa innahu al-ana yus'al." Two things. Seek Allah's forgiveness for your brother. So, oh Allah, forgive him. Oh Allah, give him forgiveness. And ask Allah to make him steadfast. Steadfast on what? He's dead. Yes, but he's being questioned by the two angels. Who's your Lord? Who's your messenger? What is your religion? What have you done in it? So these are questions posted, and they are addressed to this deceased. So you ask Allah, Allahumma thabbithu. Oh Allah, make him steadfast. Oh Allah, teach him what to say and how to respond correctly. This is the time of dua, nothing else. So if you spend after the burial like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, facing the Qibla, seeking Allah's forgiveness for the deceased, making dua for him to expand his grave, to fill it up with lights, to open a window to paradise, to make him steadfast, etc. This is good, but there's nothing else other than that. Abu Yusuf from Saudi.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
كيف حالك شيخ؟ حياك
حياك
الله.
الله بارك الله فيك أبو يوسف.
Sheikh, يوم الجمعة we have here in Saudi there is adhan called يوم الجمعة الساعة 11 أو الساعة 11 ونص 11 or 11:30 in mosques. But in Haramain, when the time enters for the Dhuhr, they make one adhan. Then after 5 minutes, then khutbah adhan starts. This khutbah, this in Haramain Sharifain, this is Sunnah followed by Hanafi in the subcontinent. So what is this other places in other cities of Saudi? One adhan, 11 o'clock or 11:30, then only one adhan for khutbah only. What is this? I don't understand.
Okay, I will answer you, inshallah.
Thank you very much.
Barakallah feek. Abdullah from the UK.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
كيف حالك؟
حياك الله أخي.
Sheikh, I have a few questions regards to Hajj.
Yes.
This is regarding Ifrad.
Ifrad.
Sorry. Ifrad, yeah, naam. If a pilgrim intends to perform Ifrad, now, does he have the option to choose to perform Tawaf al-Qudum, or can he refrain from doing it if he wills to?
Okay.
Question number one. Question number two is, if he arrives before the 8th, he has already set the miqat, the ihram, where does he stay until the 8th?
Okay.
Question number two. Number three is, if he comes early than 8th, does he have to still stay in the ihram clothes until the 8th of Dhul Hijjah?
Okay. I will answer,
the
inshallah.
last one is, just the last one, Sheikh.
Yes.
The Sa'i. Now, can he perform the Sa'i for Hajj before the 8th if he comes early? Or does he have to stay until the Tawaful Ifrad
Okay.
to do the Sa'i? Jazakallah khair.
Wajazak. Barakallah feek, Abdullah. So Abu Yusuf's question is regarding the adhan of Jumu'ah. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, at the time of Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, and with Umar, there was only one adhan for Jumu'ah. And this was not necessarily given at the time of Dhuhr, because as narrated by Jabir ibn Abdullah, may Allah be pleased with him and with his father and other companions, the hadith in Sahih Muslim and elsewhere, that the Prophet ﷺ used to call for the Jumu'ah adhan, give the sermon, and pray the Jumu'ah prayer, and the people would go out of the masjid, and it's not still time for Dhuhr. And this is why Sheikh bin Baz and Ibn Uthaymeen, may Allah have mercy on their souls, say that it is permissible to pray and offer Jumu'ah sermon and prayer half an hour to an hour before Dhuhr time. Though the vast majority of scholars say, no, we have to stick with Dhuhr. The hadiths, authentic, beyond doubt, stated that the Prophet used to maybe pray it earlier than Dhuhr time. This is for Jum'ah only. So the Prophet had only one adhan. This adhan preceded, or actually followed, when he entered the masjid and said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and sat down. The mu'adhin calls the adhan of Jumu'ah. Now, at the time of Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, and he is a rightly guided caliph. And the Prophet told us, alayhi salam, that abide by my sunnah and the sunnah of the rightly guided caliphs. Who are the four? Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali. May Allah be pleased with them all. Uthman noticed that Medina had expanded a lot. And for the mu'adhin to call one adhan as it used to be at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, by the time people came to the masjid, the salah was over. So he suggested that we introduced a second adhan. As in the case of Fajr, for example, we know that Fajr prayer has two adhans. One, which is done by Bilal, and it's about an hour before the break of dawn, and it has no significance except that it wakes those who are asleep so that they perform witr before the break of dawn, and alerts those who are praying if they want to fast so that they can eat the pre-dawn meal. That's it. The second adhan is the actual adhan of Fajr, done by Ibn Maktoum, the blind man. May Allah be pleased with him. So Uthman suggested that Friday we do the same. The first adhan is only for the mere reminding of the people that Jum'ah is due within an hour, so come quickly. So he introduced this, and all the companions approved it. And it kept on being practiced without anyone opposing it or objecting to it, which gives it the consensus of all Muslims. Now, the way it is practiced, it differs according to the Imam or to the Muslim ruler's opinion. So some masjids call the adhan 1 hour before the actual Friday sermon, the first adhan. In the Haramain, because everybody in Mecca and Medina are headed towards the masjid since 10 o'clock a.m. So they thought that there's no need to call an adhan an hour earlier. It's sufficient just to give like 10 minutes, 5 minutes before the first adhan. And we're keeping the sunnah of Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, alive by doing it, though maybe they don't think that it is necessary. And if they dropped it, it wouldn't have been a mistake because it's the sunnah of the Prophet. So either way is a win-win situation. This is why they're doing it, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Now for Abdullah, he's asking 4 questions about pilgrimage. And we know that there are 3 different systems or rituals. In Arabic we call it nusuk. So there are 3 different rituals for Hajj. There is ifrad, there is qiran, there is tamattu'. And each one has its own differences from the others when it comes to intention, when it comes to slaughtering the sacrifice, the hadi, and when it comes to offering umrah. Nevertheless, the sunnah in ifrad is that when you come in the state of ihram, that you perform tawaf al-qudum, which is voluntary, and afterwards you perform sa'i al-hajj, which is also voluntary because usually it is to be performed with tawaf al-ifada on the day of Eid. But this is an exception that was done by the Prophet ﷺ, and we're following suit. So his first question, if I am performing tawaf, hajj ifrad, is it a must that I perform tawaf al-qudum? The answer is no. So if you come, you don't want to go to Mecca, you just want to go straight to Mina. You don't make tawaf, you don't make sa'i, no problem. The sunnah is that you do, but if you insist, there's no problem, none whatsoever. His second question, if I come instead of the 8th of the Hijjah, if I come on the 1st of the Hijjah, where should I stay? It's up to you. You want to stay in Mecca, then you make the tawaf and the sa'i, no problem. You want to stay in Jeddah, no problem. You want to go to Mina, it's up to you. You can do whatever you want. The issue is, if you pass by the miqat and you put on your ihram, you're in the state of ihram. You remain in the state of ihram until the day of Eid, when you make your tahallul. Where you stay, it's up to you. Third question, if I come early, like a week early or 10 days, do I have to stay in the state of ihram? The answer is yes. See, if you come, let's assume 2 weeks before the day of Hajj, the option is that you perform your ihram, you put on your ihram. The logical thing would be that you go to Mecca, do your tawaf, do your sa'i for umrah, which means that you become mutamatti'. And after you finish sa'i, you clip your hair. You wear your normal clothes, you're as good as new. Go back to Jeddah, stay in Mecca, whatever you want. You're just a normal person, not in the state of ihram. On the 8th, you put on your ihram and you go straight to Mina. Now, if you're doing ifrad or qiran, once you put your ihram, you cannot exit it until the day of Eid. And if you come 2 weeks early, this is too difficult to stay in the clothes of ihram for 2 weeks. So why insist on ifrad when you have the option of qiran? That is, when you have the option of tamattu'. This is what the Prophet ﷺ recommended his companions to do. And he told them, make a umrah. He said, how can we make umrah, ya Rasulullah, and then cut our hair and have intimacy with our wives and then go to Hajj? He said, this is religion. This is the best type of Hajj, which is tamattu'. But if you don't want to, then you have to stay in your ihram. His final question, fourth question, he says that if I come like 5-10 days before Hajj, can I make tawaf al-qudum and also sa'i al-hajj? And the answer is yes. You are in the season of Hajj, and hence you can make sa'i al-hajj after tawaf al-qudum. There's no problem in that. But again, if you come like a week or two and you're going to do tawaf and sa'i, why not make it a umrah? Because a person in ifrad or qiran, when he makes tawaf al-qudum, then he makes sa'i al-hajj, he doesn't clip his hair. He remains in his ihram and waits until the 8th, where he goes to Mina, Arafah, then Eid, and then the rest of the rituals. But if you come a week, 10 days, couple of weeks earlier, then what's the point? Do your tawaf, do your sa'i with the intention of umrah. Clip your hair and live normally for a couple of weeks, and then you can resume your hajj, and Allah knows best. Kawile Bali, I hope the name is right. A friend of mine has an elder sister of his mother, meaning an aunt. She's a wealthy woman who has no children. This wealthy woman is married to a man who has another wife, and he has children from this wife. The question is, who is of the two sides, that is my friend or the other children of the second wife of the man, has more right to the inheritance? The question is a little bit awkward, because if a woman dies, those who inherit her are as follows. 1, the husband. 2, the parents. 3, her offspring. If there are no parents, no offspring, then it's the husband and her siblings. If she has no siblings, then her uncles, paternal uncles. If not, then paternal cousins. Now, her husband's second wife and their children are totally not related to this woman. Therefore, they are not entitled for a single penny. Only the husband would get half of her wealth and property because she has no children. And the other half goes to her siblings if she has no parents. I hope this answers the question. Mubarak says, my parents told me to finish a certain course in a certain institute. Am I obliged to follow them in that matter? If my parents tell me, I want you to study engineering, or I want you to come to our city and work there, am I obliged to follow that order, or am I only obliged to follow orders which give them benefits, like give me a glass of water or go to the grocery and buy things? First of all, it is mandatory for us to obey our parents when they order us to do things that are beneficial for them and it does not harm us. So my father says, go fetch me food from the kitchen. Immediately I have to do that because it's beneficial for him. He says, come down and carry the groceries from the car with me. Immediately I have to go and obey him. If I have a football match and he says, I need you to stay because I have guests coming and I need you to serve them coffee and to bring the food and etc. I must cancel my football match. No doubt about it. So these things, as long as it is beneficial for the parents and there's no harm on me, I'm obliged to obey them. When it comes to your major in university or studying a particular course in an institution, this has no benefit for them. They may recommend, by all means, but they do not have the right to force me to study something I don't want to study. Like the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force the horse to drink. So they can say, I'd like you to become an engineer or a doctor, but they don't have the right to force me to do this. And if you don't, I'm angry, and Allah would not make you successful, and Allah's curse would be upon you. This is nonsense. It's nothing. It has no impact, none whatsoever. Therefore, yes, you may diplomatically reject that and do whatever you want to do. This is your life, this is your future, and no one has the right to dictate that to you, even your parents. But again, having said that, do not go head to head or take a head-on collision with them. Always remember that you have to be dutiful, you have to be respectful, and you have to be diplomatic. So find a way to reach their hearts, but at the end of the day, you do not need to continue except what you desire and want to pursue as your career or as your academia. This is all the time we have. Next week and the following week, I'll not be giving live programs, inshallah. So inshallah, the next time we will meet, hopefully it would be approximately like 18th of November. So until then, I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum